I called my mother just to say, "I love you," and forgot to hang up. That one small mistake changed my whole life. Not because she said something rude in anger, not because she complained about me being busy, not because she forgot I was still on the line and said my cooking needed less pepper, or that I worked too much, or that I should visit more. No, what I heard was deeper than an insult. It was a plan. My name is Naomi Bennett. I was 37 years old, standing in my kitchen at 10:42 p.m., wearing an old sweater, holding a mug of tea that had gone cold, and feeling guilty because I had almost let the whole day pass without calling my mother. It was her birthday. I had sent flowers that morning. I had sent money too. A lot of money. $25,000. She said she needed it for medical bills, house repairs, and a church charity program she wanted to support in my late grandmother Ruth's name. I did not question it much. That was my mistake. My mother had called earlier and cried on the phone. "Naomi, baby, I know you are busy. I know you have your company and your important meetings. I don't want to bother you." She always said that before bothering me. Then she told me about the leaking roof, the unpaid hospital bill, the charity dinner, my father's blood pressure medication, my brother Marcus's children needing school items. Everything came in one long emotional river. And as usual, I built a bridge with my bank account. I told her I would transfer the money before noon. She cried harder. "You are the only child who truly understands sacrifice," she said. I wanted those words to be love, so I accepted them. That night, after my meetings ended and the house became quiet, guilt came back. I had sent money, yes, but I had not called again to say the simple thing daughters are supposed to say on birthdays. I picked up my phone and called her. She answered on the third ring. "Naomi? Happy birthday again, Mom." Her voice softened immediately. "My baby, thank you. I just wanted to say I love you." There was a pause. Then she said, "I love you too, sweetheart." For one moment, I let myself rest inside those words. Even at 37, even with my own company, my own home, my own car, my own money, I still had a little girl inside me who wanted her mother's love to arrive without a receipt attached. We talked for 5 minutes. Nothing deep. She thanked me for the flowers. I asked if she ate dinner. She said my father took her out. I smiled. She said she was tired. I told her to rest. Then she said, "God bless you, Naomi. You always come through." I said goodnight. I thought the call ended. But my finger must have missed the red button. The phone stayed connected through my kitchen speaker. I turned away to rinse my mug, and that was when I heard my brother Marcus laugh in the background. Did she send it? My hand froze over the sink. My mother's voice changed. Gone was the tired sweetness. Gone was the soft birthday voice. Gone was the grateful mother. This voice was sharper. Lighter. Almost excited. "Yes," she said. 25,000. Marcus whistled. "Told you. Birthday tears always work." My chest tightened. Birthday tears. My father's voice came next. "Marcus, lower your voice." My mother laughed. Not nervously. Comfortably. "Relax." She hung up. But I had not. Marcus said, "She really thinks that money is for hospital bills?" My father said, "Some of it is." Marcus laughed again. "Dad, come on." Then Tasha, Marcus's wife, spoke. "We should move fast before Naomi starts asking questions. Move fast." I stood still in my kitchen, water running over my fingers, heart beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. My mother said, "She won't ask. Naomi never asks when she thinks someone needs her." Marcus replied, "That's why she's useful." Useful. That word again. The word that had followed me through my whole life, like a shadow wearing a family name. Useful daughter, useful sister, useful aunt, useful bank, useful fixer, useful fool. My father sighed. "Don't talk about your sister like that." For 1 second, relief almost entered me. Then he continued. "She has a good heart. That is why this has to be handled carefully. Handled. Not loved. Handled. Tasha said, once the money clears, we can pay the deposit on the venue and lock in the investor dinner. My throat went dry. Investor dinner. Not hospital bill. Not roof repair. Not medicine. Not charity. Marcus said, and Mom's birthday story was perfect. Medical bills, roof, church fund, emotional but believable. My mother said, I didn't lie about everything. That was what broke me first. Not I didn't lie. I didn't lie about everything, as if partial truth made manipulation holy. My father asked, what about Naomi's name on the invitation? Marcus scoffed. No, absolutely not. This is my launch. Launch. My money was funding Marcus's launch. Again. But this time under my mother's birthday tears. Tasha said, we can mention the family contributed. Marcus laughed. Family means Naomi paid and everyone clapped. My mother gave a small laugh too. That one hurt more than Marcus, because I expected arrogance from him. But my mother? My mother had held my face as a child and told me I was her blessing. My mother had prayed over me before exams. My mother had cried when I bought my first home. My mother had told people, Naomi is my steady girl. Now she laughed, while my brother turned my love into a joke. Then Marcus said, honestly, she should be grateful. What else does she have? No husband, no kids, big lonely house, big lonely bank account. Helping us gives her life meaning. The kitchen blurred. My hand slipped from the mug. It hit the sink with a dull sound. Nobody on the other end heard. Or maybe they did and ignored it. My mother said quietly, don't be cruel. Again, relief tried to enter. Again, it was too early. She continued, Naomi is sensitive about those things. Sensitive. Not hurt. Not human. Sensitive. My father said she has always needed to feel needed. My mother replied, yes, and Marcus needs this chance, so everyone gets what they need. Everyone. Except me. I backed away from the sink slowly. The speaker was still on. Their voices kept moving through my kitchen like smoke. Marcus talked about the investor dinner. Tasha talked about renting a luxury hall. My father worried about whether the money would be enough. My mother said, if we need more, I'll tell Naomi the roof damage is worse. I pressed my hand over my mouth. That was when the tears finally came. Not loud, silent, hot. The kind of tears that feel like they are leaving from somewhere behind your ribs. I walked to the island, picked up the phone, and stared at the call timer. Still connected. 12 minutes. 12 minutes of truth. I should have hung up. I should have screamed. I should have called them out. Instead, I stood there and listened until Marcus said one final thing. After this launch, I'll pay Naomi back. Tasha laughed. Marcus. He laughed too. Okay, maybe not, but she'll survive. She always does. She always does. That was the family math. Naomi survives, so Naomi can be drained. Naomi survives, so Naomi can be lied to. Naomi survives, so Naomi does not need care. Naomi survives, so Naomi can be used again. I picked up the phone and said, no, Marcus. Silence. Complete silence. Then my mother whispered, Naomi? I wiped my face with my sleeve. Yes. My father said, how long have you been on the phone? Long enough. Tasha murmured something I could not hear. Marcus recovered first. Of course. Naomi, don't be dramatic. I almost smiled. Even caught in betrayal, he still reached for the oldest tool. Make Naomi the problem. I said, the transfer is canceled. My mother gasped. Baby, please. No. Naomi, wait. You misunderstood. I understood every word. My father's voice turned careful. Naomi, emotions are high. Let's not make a rash decision. I laughed. It sounded empty. Dad, the only rash decision was trusting a birthday cry without asking for invoices. Marcus snapped. You don't know what this dinner means for me. You're right, I said. I don't, and now I don't care. My mother started crying. But this time, the sound did not move me the same way. It was still painful, still familiar, still powerful. But something had shifted. It no longer sounded like a mother needing her daughter. It sounded like a lock trying to click back into place. Naomi, she sobbed, I am your mother. And I called to say I love you, I whispered. You turned that love into a strategy. Nobody spoke. Then I ended the call. For the first time in my life, I did not call back to soften the truth. I stood alone in my kitchen, with cold tea, a wet counter, and a heart that finally understood the difference between being loved and being useful. Before I continue, tell me where you are watching from tonight, and if you have ever heard what people really say about your kindness when they think you are no longer listening, stay with me, because sometimes the forgotten phone call is not an accident. Sometimes it is the door opening before you sign away more of yourself. I was not born into money. I was born into responsibility. There is a difference. Money came later. Responsibility was waiting for me before I could even spell it. We grew up in a small house on Cedar Lane, where the hallway light flickered, the front door stuck during rainy weather, and my mother could stretch one pot of stew across 3 meals if she smiled hard enough while serving it. My father, Leonard Bennett, worked in warehouse management. He was a proud man, not loud all the time, but proud in that quiet way that makes every correction feel like an insult. My mother, Patricia, was softer on the outside and sharper underneath. She worked part-time at the church office and full-time managing the emotions of our home. Then there was Marcus, firstborn son, family hope, professional emergency. Marcus was the child who always needed more chances. I was the child who always had to understand why he needed them. When Marcus failed a class, he needed support. When I got a B, I needed discipline. When Marcus spent money he did not have, he was learning adulthood. When I asked for a school trip fee, I was told sacrifice builds character. When Marcus forgot chores, he was distracted. When I forgot one thing, my mother said, Naomi, people depend on you. People depend on you. That sentence entered me early and built a home there. I became dependable because it was the closest thing to being praised. I cooked when my mother was tired, helped my father with paperwork, tutored Marcus, watched younger cousins, managed bills, remembered birthdays, filled forms, cleaned quietly, worked summer jobs, saved money, shared money, smiled when asked. I was called mature, strong, helpful, reliable. Nobody asked if I was tired. My grandmother Ruth was the only one who seemed to see through the praise. She lived a few blocks away in a yellow house with a garden full of peppers and herbs. Her kitchen smelled like onions, thyme, and truth. She was gentle with children and merciless with nonsense. One Saturday, after my parents made me cancel a school event to help Marcus prepare for an interview he later missed, I went to her house and cried at her table. Grandma Ruth placed a plate of rice in front of me and said, Naomi, being needed can feel like being loved when no one teaches you the difference. I looked up. What is the difference? She wiped her hands on a towel. Love asks how much you can carry. Use keeps adding weight because it knows you won't drop it. That sentence stayed with me. But staying with me did not mean I lived by it. Some lessons sit inside you for years before pain finally gives them permission to stand up. I worked hard in school because grades were safe. Numbers did not cry to manipulate you. Assignments did not borrow money and call you selfish. Tests did not ask you to shrink so someone else could feel tall. I earned scholarships, studied business systems, worked through college, graduated with honors, got a job in healthcare operations, then another. Then started my own consulting company, Bennett ClearPath Solutions, helping clinics, hospitals, and small medical suppliers fix their broken systems. It was not glamorous at first. I worked from a rented desk in a shared office where the air conditioner sounded like it was fighting for its life. I took buses to meetings, ate noodles, wore the same 2 blazers until Grace, my best friend, threatened to burn one of them for public safety. Grace had known me since college. She was brilliant with numbers, direct with words, and allergic to my family's emotional theater. "You know they use you, right?" she said once, after Marcus asked for money, the same week my mother asked me to pay for a church dinner. I got angry. "They're my family." Grace nodded. "Yes, that seems to be their main business model." I did not speak to her for 2 days. Then I called her crying after transferring money anyway. She came over with food and did not say, "I told you so." That was why she was my safe person. Over time, my company grew. 1 clinic became 5. 5 became a network. Then hospitals. Then regional contracts. Then national work. By 35, I was wealthy enough to stop checking prices at grocery stores, but not healed enough to stop buying love from my family one crisis at a time. That is an important truth. Money does not automatically make you free. Sometimes money only gives your wounds better tools. My family changed when I became successful, not into better people, into more polished versions of themselves. My mother began saying Naomi has always been special. My father told people, "My daughter runs a company." Marcus said, "We always knew she would do well." We. That little word. We worked late nights. We missed meals. We built client systems. We sat in empty offices wondering if payroll would clear. No. But we appeared when the photos looked good. I bought my parents a better house first. Not a mansion, just safe, comfortable, a clean roof, good plumbing, a small garden for my mother, a reading room for my father. My mother cried when I gave them the keys. "God bless you," she said. "You never forget family." I wanted that to be love. Maybe part of it was. But after that, the requests grew. Marcus needed help with rent. Then business debt. Then legal fees. Then his children's school. Then a car. Then seed money. Then one more chance. My parents rarely asked directly for him at first. They created atmosphere. My mother would sigh on the phone. My father would say, "Your brother is going through something." My mother would cry. My father would say, "A family stands together." Then silence. A silence shaped like my bank account. I filled it. Again and again. And every time I did, they called me a blessing. But a blessing can become a machine if nobody remembers there is a person inside it. The birthday phone call happened after years of that pattern. Marcus had been trying to launch a new investment dinner for his latest company, Bennett Urban Ventures. The name alone annoyed me. He used Bennett when he wanted credibility, and Naomi when he wanted money. The company had no real product yet, only a deck, a logo, and confidence so loud it needed a microphone. He had asked me to invest directly. I said no. He asked again. I said no. He brought my father. I said no. He brought my mother's tears. I still said no. That should have been the end. But Marcus had learned long ago that no from me was only a door if he had not found the right emotional window. So they used my mother's birthday, medical bills, roof, charity, Grandma Ruth's name. They wrapped the lie in everything that could reach me, and I almost sent the money. After I hung up that night, truly hung up, I called the bank before anything cleared. The transfer was scheduled for the next morning. I canceled it. Then I froze all planned family payments pending review. That sounds dramatic if you have never been financially drained by people who call it love. To me, it felt like finally turning off a leaking pipe. Then I called Grace. She answered sleepily. "Naomi?" I heard them. She became awake immediately. Heard who? My family. What happened? I told her everything. Birthday tears. Investor dinner. Useful. Big lonely house. She always does. Grace was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "I'm coming. It's late. I'm still coming." She arrived 25 minutes later, wearing sneakers, pajama pants, and the face of a woman ready to invoice my entire bloodline for emotional damage. She hugged me first, then opened her laptop. "What are you doing?" I asked. making sure grief does not accidentally reactivate a transfer. I almost laughed. She reviewed my outgoing payments, family support schedules, recurring transfers, cards on file, authorized users, and emergency access. It was worse than I wanted to admit. My mother had a monthly allowance. My parents' house expenses were partly linked to my account. Marcus had a consulting retainer through one of my side entities, even though he had not delivered anything useful in months. Tasha's boutique still had a small support line I had forgotten to cancel. School expenses for the children. Medical payments. Insurance. Car maintenance. Utility backups. Vendor bills. Charity pledges my mother made in my name. Grace leaned back. Naomi. I know. No, you don't know. This is not help. This is infrastructure. I looked at the spreadsheet. My family had built their comfort into my systems, like ivy growing around a house. I whispered, "How did I let this happen?" Grace's face softened. "You were trained to confuse access with closeness." That was true. Every payment felt like a thread tying me to them. Now I saw the threads had become ropes. We called Vivian Hart the next morning. Vivian was my attorney, and she had the calmest voice in any emergency. She also had the spiritual gift of making selfish people regret email. When I told her what I heard, she said, "Do you have a recording?" I froze. "I don't know. My phone system sometimes recorded calls through my business line if routed through the office app." I checked. It had recorded. Not perfectly, but enough. Vivian listened. Then said, "Well, they are emotionally efficient and legally careless. What do I do?" We restructure. Immediately. That day became the beginning of what Grace called the Great Unplugging. Cancel Marcus's retainer. Pause parental discretionary allowance. Remove all non-essential cards. Require invoices for medical support. No charity payments without direct verification. No vendor charges through my account. No cash transfers. No family business investments. No emotional emergency funding. Written requests only. Review period. Boundaries. Not punishment. Boundaries. My mother called at 8:15 a.m. I did not answer. She called again. Then my father. Then Marcus. Then Tasha. Then my mother again. Finally, she sent a message. "Naomi, the money did not arrive. Is everything okay?" I stared at it. "Everything okay?" I wrote back. "No. I heard the conversation after you thought I hung up. The transfer is canceled. All future financial support is under review." She replied immediately. "Baby, please let me explain." Then, Marcus was joking. Then, you know how your brother talks? Then, your father and I really do have bills. Then, please don't let one misunderstanding destroy your mother's birthday. One misunderstanding. I sent the audio clip. Just 30 seconds. Marcus saying birthday tears always work. My mother saying I never ask when I think someone needs me. Marcus saying I was useful. My mother stopped texting for 3 hours. Then my father called. I answered with Grace and Vivian listening. "Naomi," he said, voice heavy, "this has gone too far." I looked at the phone. What has? Recording private family conversations. I almost laughed. "Dad, I called to say I love you. You forgot I could hear you. That is not the point. It is exactly the point." He sighed sharply. "Your mother is devastated. Because I heard her or because she said it?" Silence. Then he said, "Families say things. Families also mean things." Marcus was under pressure. Marcus is always under pressure. That does not turn my money into oxygen. My father's voice hardened. "You are becoming arrogant." "No, I am becoming unavailable." That word landed. Unavailable. It felt strange in my mouth. Powerful. Sad. Correct. My father said, If you cut this family off, you will regret it. I closed my eyes. There was the old threat. Love withdrawn like a utility bill. I said, "Dad, if your love depends on payments clearing, I already regret paying." He hung up. My mother came to my house that evening. She arrived with red eyes and no appointment. The gate code had already been changed. She called from outside. "Naomi, please open." I watched her through the camera. For years, that image would have broken me. My mother crying outside my gate. My mother calling me baby. My mother looking wounded. But the audio still lived in my ears. Birthday tears always work. She never asks when she thinks someone needs her. Useful. I spoke through the camera. "Mom, I'm not opening the gate tonight." She gasped. "Naomi, I need space. I am your mother." "I know. Then don't treat me like a stranger." I felt tears rise. "Mom, strangers ask before taking." She covered her mouth. "I didn't take anything. You tried. I was trying to help your brother. By lying to your daughter." She cried harder. I didn't know what else to do. That sentence was almost honest. Almost. I said, "You could have told Marcus no." She stared at the camera, as if I had spoken a foreign language. Then whispered, "He needed us, and I needed you, to love me without using me." Her face crumpled. For a second, I thought maybe the truth reached her. Then she said, "Baby, don't punish me." The lock clicked back. Everything became clear again. "I'm not punishing you," I said. "I'm stopping the payment plan." Then I ended the camera feed. She stayed outside for 20 minutes, then left. I cried after. Hard. Grace stayed with me that night. She did not fill the silence with advice. She just sat beside me while I cried for the mother I had wanted, and the mother I had heard. Those were not the same woman. Or maybe they were. That was the hardest part. The next weeks were ugly. Family ugly. The kind of ugly that comes when people lose access and call it heartbreak. Marcus sent angry messages. "You embarrassed Mom. You always act better than everyone." That money was going to change my life. "You don't need it." No husband, no kids, all that money, and still bitter. There it was again. My life measured against his. Because he had a wife and children, his dreams counted more. Because I was single, my money was extra. Because my house was quiet, my bank account was public property. I blocked him. Tasha sent a softer message. "Naomi, I know things were said badly, but the investor dinner was important. If Marcus succeeds, the whole family wins." I replied, "If Marcus succeeds by lying to me, everyone loses me." Then blocked her too. My father stopped calling after Vivian sent a formal notice about harassment and financial boundaries. My mother wrote long texts, some apologies, some guilt, some memories. She sent a photo of me as a child holding her hand, then wrote, "This is the Naomi I miss." I stared at that message for a long time, then replied, that Naomi was exhausted. She did not answer. Brianna called me 3 days later, my younger sister, the quiet one, the one who had moved out early and built a life far enough away to breathe. She said, "Mom told me you cut everyone off because of a joke." I laughed softly. "Of course. Send me what happened." I sent the audio. She called back 10 minutes later, crying. "I'm sorry." "For what specifically?" I asked gently. "For believing even for a second that it was just a joke. That mattered." Brianna came to visit that weekend. She walked into my kitchen, the same kitchen where I had heard everything, and hugged me for a long time. Then she said, "I have to tell you something." My body tensed. "What?" "Mom did this before." The room went still. "What do you mean?" Brianna sat at the island. "When I was in nursing school, she called me crying about Dad's medication. I sent her $2,000 from my emergency savings. Later, I found out it went to Marcus's rent. My stomach turned. Why didn't you tell me? Brianna looked down. Because I felt stupid. And because when I confronted her, she said I was being selfish and that Marcus had children. I thought maybe I was wrong. I closed my eyes. It was not just me. That made me feel less alone and more angry. Brianna continued. She uses different stories for different people. You get the big emergencies because you have the most money. I got smaller ones. Aunt Linda got a few too. Even Grandma Ruth, before she died, used to say Mom could cry coins out of a wall. Despite myself, I laughed. Grandma Ruth would say that. Then I cried again. Because if Grandma had seen it, maybe part of me had known too. I just had not wanted to. The investor dinner collapsed without my money. Marcus tried to proceed anyway. He booked a cheaper venue, then failed to pay the deposit. Investors backed out when the presentation changed. One of them called me because Marcus had apparently mentioned my name as family capital support. I corrected that immediately. Vivian sent formal letters stating I had no involvement in Bennett Urban Ventures, no capital commitment, no advisory role, and no liability. Marcus called from a new number. You ruined my launch. No, I said. I refuse to be your fake foundation. You always do this. What? Make everything about documents. Because documents are where lies get tired. He hung up. A week later, my mother finally sent a message that did not ask for money, access, or emotional rescue. Can we meet? I want to apologize properly. I did not answer that day, or the next. On the third day, I said yes. Vivian's office. Recorded. Grace present. My mother arrived looking smaller than usual. No bright scarf. No heavy perfume. No big handbag. Just a simple dress and swollen eyes. She sat across from me and folded her hands. For once, she did not start crying before speaking. I am sorry, she said. I waited. For what specifically? She swallowed. For lying about what the money was for. For using my birthday to make you softer. For saying you never ask questions when someone needs you. For laughing while Marcus called you useful. For letting your loneliness become something we discussed instead of something I cared for. For making you feel loved only when you were helping. The room was silent. That was the first apology that reached the real wound. My eyes filled, but I did not speak. She continued. I have told myself for years that you were strong, so asking from you was different. I told myself Marcus was fragile, so giving to him was urgent. I told myself I was keeping peace, but I was teaching him entitlement and teaching you exhaustion. Grace looked down. Vivian's pen stopped moving. My mother cried now, but quietly. I heard myself on that audio, she said. Not the words only, the ease. I sounded comfortable using you. That sentence hurt. And healed. Because yes, that was what had broken me. Not only the lie, the comfort. I nodded slowly. I hear you. She reached toward me, then stopped. May I hold your hand? I looked at her hand, then shook my head. Not today. She pulled back. Okay. That one word mattered. No pressure. No collapse. No, I'm your mother. Just okay. That was the first sign that maybe her apology had roots. My father's apology came later. He resisted at first. He said less, so he believed he owed less. That is how quiet people hide. But silence in wrongdoing is not innocence. It is participation without fingerprints. He came to Vivian's office 3 weeks after my mother. He looked tired. Old. Ashamed in a way I had rarely seen. He sat down and said, I failed you. No greeting. No defense. Just that. My throat tightened. He continued. I heard Marcus talk about you that way, and I did not stop him. I knew the money was not for what your mother said. I told myself it was still helping family. I told myself you could afford it. I told myself your life was less complicated because you don't have children. He looked at me. I was wrong. For what specifically? I asked. He nodded like he had prepared. For letting your mother lie, for letting Marcus use you, for saying your good heart meant we had to handle you carefully, for making your strength an excuse to take more, for threatening that the family would not stand by you if you stopped paying. That last one reached deep. I had spent my life fearing exactly that. If I stopped being useful, would anyone stay? I asked him. If I never gave another dollar, would you still call? His eyes filled. I want to say yes. That hurt, because it was honest. He continued. But I know my actions have not proved that, so I won't ask you to believe it. I will prove it badly at first, then hopefully better. I almost smiled through tears. That sounded like real Leonard Bennett, proud, but trying. I hear you, I said. After those meetings, I did not restore the old support. That disappointed them. Good apologies do not require immediate access. My parents had to rebuild their finances honestly. I paid verified medical bills directly for 1 year. No cash. No emotional transfers. No roof repair without invoices. No charity in Grandma Ruth's name without proof. Marcus received nothing. Not punishment. Reality. My mother struggled with that. She would begin a sentence with, "Your brother just needs," then stop herself. At first, she stopped because she feared losing me. Later, I think she stopped because she hurt herself. That is growth. Marcus struggled more. Without family money hiding his bad planning, his business failed. He blamed me, then my mother, then investors, then the economy, then eventually, after many months, himself a little. He got a job in sales operations, a regular job, with a manager, with targets, with consequences. He hated it so much that I almost felt sorry for his manager. Almost. Tasha called me once after their finances collapsed. I did not answer. She sent a message. "I'm sorry for laughing that night. I knew it was wrong." I replied, "Thank you for naming it." Nothing more. I did not need every apology to become a reunion. Some apologies are receipts, not invitations. The bigger change happened inside me. The silence in my house changed. Before, silence felt like proof that Marcus was right. No husband, no children, big lonely house. Now silence began to feel like recovery. No phone ringing with crisis. No mother crying through a request. No father sighing about family duty. No Marcus needing one more chance. No Tasha using children as emotional shields. Just my own life. At first, I did not know what to do with it. Grace said, "Rest." I said, "That sounds fake." She said, "Exactly why you need it." I started small. Breakfast without checking messages. Sunday walks. Therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind where you go once and say you are too busy. I sat across from a therapist named Dr. Elaine Carter and told her, "I think my family only loves me when I help." She asked, "What happens if you stop?" I cried for 10 minutes. Then said, "I don't know who I am." She replied, "Good. Then we can meet her." Therapy was hard. Harder than business. Harder than building systems. Because I could not spreadsheet my way around grief. I had to sit with the little girl who thought being helpful kept her safe. The teenager who canceled plans to rescue Marcus. The young woman who paid bills to receive praise. The adult who built wealth and still answered every call like love was on the line. Slowly, I learned that my life did not need to be justified by usefulness. I began saying no. Small no at first. No, I cannot host this weekend. No, I cannot review Marcus's proposal. No, I will not send cash. No, I am not available tonight. No, I need time. No. 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 Each one felt like lifting a weight and discovering my arms still belonged to me. I used part of the money I had been sending family to create the Steady Girl Fund. Grace hated the name at first. "Too personal," she said. That's why. The fund helped women who had become the dependable person in their families to set financial boundaries, build savings, get therapy, and learn how to help without being emptied. Vivian taught legal planning. Grace taught financial systems. Dr. Elaine taught emotional boundaries. Brianna eventually joined, teaching a session for siblings who had stayed silent too long. Her session was called, "Neutral is not always kind." It made people cry every time. At the first Steady Girl workshop, I stood in front of 30 women and told the story of the birthday call. Not every detail. Enough. I said, "I called my mother to say I love you. I forgot to hang up." What I heard taught me that some people do not need more proof of your love. They need less access to your sacrifice. Women cried. Some nodded like I had spoken their private diary out loud. One woman raised her hand and said, "What if they really do need help?" I said, "Then help with structure, not guilt. Pay the bill directly if you choose. Ask for documents. Set limits. Let no be complete. Help should not require you to disappear." That became one of our core lines. Help should not require you to disappear. My mother asked to attend a workshop 2 years later. I almost said no. Then yes, with conditions. She could attend as a participant. No speaking. No telling people she was my mother unless asked. No turning it into her redemption story. She agreed. I watched her sit in the second row with a notebook while women told stories of being drained by family. Sometimes she cried. Sometimes she wrote. During one exercise, Dr. Elaine asked participants to write down a sentence they had used to justify taking too much from someone else or giving too much of themselves. My mother showed me hers later. It said, "She can handle it." She cried when I read it. "I said that about you for years," she whispered. "I know. I am sorry. I know." That time, I held her hand. Not because everything was fixed, because she asked with truth instead of need. Marcus's apology came 3 years after the phone call. By then, he had lost the business fantasy, worked 2 regular jobs, gone through marriage counseling with Tasha, and learned the hard way that confidence does not pay rent unless attached to competence. He asked to meet at a cafe. I almost refused, then agreed. He arrived early. That alone was new. He looked nervous. Also new. He sat across from me and said, "I'm sorry." "For what specifically?" He swallowed. "For laughing after Mom's call. For saying birthday tears always work. For calling you useful. For saying helping us gave your life meaning. For talking about your house and your life like they were empty because you don't have what I have." My throat tightened. He continued, "I was jealous. I said nothing. Your money, yes, but more than that, your control, your discipline, the way people trusted you. I kept telling myself you were lonely, so I wouldn't have to admit you were strong in ways I wasn't." That was honest. Painful, but honest. "You made my loneliness into your comfort," I said. He nodded. "Yes. That was cruel. I know." "Do you?" He looked down. "I'm learning. Tasha said I used everyone's weakness as a tool and called it strategy." "Tasha said that?" He laughed softly. "Yeah. Counseling is ruining all my excuses." "Good." He smiled sadly. "Yeah, good." I did not forgive him fully that day. Forgiveness, for me, stopped being a door people could knock on after burning the house. It became a path. Some people walked it. Some did not. Marcus began walking. Slowly. No money conversations. No requests. No jokes about my life. No using Mom as messenger. When he slipped, I ended the call. When he corrected himself, I noticed. Years later, he donated to the Steady Girl Fund. Small amount. His own money. The note said, "For all the steady girls we leaned on too hard." I cried when I saw it, then called him. "Thank you." He said, "I meant it." I know. That was healing. Not perfect, but real. My father became quieter in a better way. Not avoiding, reflecting. One afternoon he came to my house by invitation only and stood in my garden. He said, "You know, I used to think being head of the family meant making sure everyone stayed together. And now? Now I think it means making sure nobody is crushed to keep the picture whole. I smiled. That's not bad. He nodded. Late wisdom. Still wisdom. My mother no longer asks for money without documents. More importantly, she no longer makes money the first language between us. Sometimes she calls just to ask what I ate. At first, I did not trust it. Then I tested it. I answered. We talked. No request came. After the call, I cried. Because a request not coming can feel like love when you have spent years bracing for one. We are not a perfect family now. I do not write perfect families. They feel fake because they usually are. We are a family with scars, boundaries, better language, and fewer keys. My mother has no direct access to my accounts. Marcus has no retainer. Tasha does not borrow through the children. My father does not threaten family withdrawal. Brianna speaks up sooner. I answer calls when I want to, not when guilt grabs my hand. And when I say I love you now, I listen to what the room says after. Not in paranoia. In wisdom. Because love should sound like love even when it thinks you are not listening. Years after the forgotten call, my mother's birthday came again. This time, I did not send money. I sent flowers. A book of prayers Grandma Ruth used to love. And a handwritten card. Then I called. She answered softly. Naomi. Happy birthday, Mom. Thank you, baby. I love you. She was quiet for a moment, then said, I love you too, and I don't need anything today. My eyes filled. You don't have to say that every time. I know, she said, but I want the little girl in you to hear it until she believes me. That broke me, in a good way. After we hung up, I stared at the phone, then laughed, then cried, then checked to make sure the call had actually ended. It had. Still, I smiled. Not because everything was erased, because something new had been written over time, a better pattern. One where love did not arrive dressed as need. The Steady Girl Fund grew into something bigger than I imagined. We helped women set up separate savings, create family support budgets, build exit plans from financial manipulation, pay for therapy, learn to say no without writing essays. One of our most popular workshops was called The Phone is Still On. Vivian named it as a joke. Then everyone loved it. At the start of the session, I always say, imagine the people who ask most from you forgot to hang up. What would you be afraid to hear? That fear is information. Some women close their eyes. Some start writing. Some cry before I finish. Because they know. Deep down, many people know the truth before proof arrives. They feel it in the tightness before answering calls. In the way their stomach drops when a parent says, baby, can we talk? In the way they already know the request before the story begins. In the way they feel loved and used in the same conversation. The forgotten phone call did not create the truth. It confirmed it. That confirmation hurt. But it saved me years of giving money to people who had learned to praise my bleeding. If you are listening, and you are the steady one, hear me clearly. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to ask for invoices. You are allowed to say, I can't help with that. You are allowed to pay directly instead of sending cash. You are allowed to separate love from transfers. You are allowed to let grown people face the consequences of choices you did not make. You are allowed to disappoint people who depended on your lack of boundaries. And if they say, you have changed, you can say, yes. I finally heard enough. Do not let people convince you that overheard truth does not count. It counts. What people say when they think you are gone often reveals what they were benefiting from while you stayed. But be careful too. Do not become bitter. Bitterness can turn a prison key into another prison. Let truth make you free, not cruel. You can love people with boundaries. You can help wisely. You can forgive slowly. You can rebuild trust with proof. And you can decide some doors stay closed. All of that can be true. My name is Naomi Bennett. I called my mother to say, I love you. I forgot to hang up. What I heard changed everything. It canceled a transfer. Ended a pattern, exposed a plan, broke a fantasy. Started a fund, forced apologies, saved my peace, and taught me that the most important sound in my life was not my mother crying, my father warning, or Marcus laughing. It was my own voice, finally saying no.